Welcome back, Scrunchy Moms Club.
Hello, we're here, barely hanging on.
I mean, I'm doing fine.
You're doing fine?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we
that's
had a
good.
wedding last night,
Mhm.
and yeah,
We got
we
married.
yes, everybody. No, our dear, beautiful, beloved Monica got married last night, and it was such a nice night, and she
Yeah.
was just stunning. I could cry like talking about how stunning and just like happy I am.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
was beautiful. It was great. The weather was like super iffy at first because it was
Yeah.
supposed to rain, but like it was so meant to be because as soon as the ceremony started, the skies cleared.
Oh my God, and the light was like shining on Bob's face while they were doing their vows. It was the cutest thing. Yeah, no, it was so, and like the venue, all of it. No, so congrats, Monica. We love you. And so sorry it wasn't me, but
Yeah.
I'll move on.
I
Yeah.
know you were still
I was banking on,
holding out
yeah, I
that you were
know.
going to be at the end of that. Honestly, his vows like shocked me. They were so good.
They were so funny yet so
and
sentimental.
so long. Like
Yeah.
he really
Yeah.
thought it. Yeah, no, I was really impressed by his vows.
Yeah. So good times there. We do have a lovely guest who has been on once already. You are our first repeat guest, Emilia. This is kind of
What?
crazy.
I love
So
it.
if you guys have been listening for a while, Amelia is my sister, and I mean this episode has been anticipated for quite some time.
Yes.
We have been hyping this up for probably like 3 or 4 episodes, like since the season finale of last season. Yeah, so Amelia's my sister, my older sister. And she, if you want to catch her, I think she's on episode 15, which is
Something like that.
can moms have it all? Yeah. So if
Yeah,
you want to
and-
catch her other episode,
And she was pregnant that episode, but we didn't like say anything
we didn't talk about it. Yeah.
But we had said offline of that episode, like, oh, you have to come back when you have the baby and talk about all that. So now
Yeah.
we can do that.
So now we can do that. We found time in all of our busy schedules and we made it happen. So welcome, Emilia, to Scrunchy Moms again.
Thanks for having me again. So glad we could make this happen.
I know. Like, how's it going being a mom of 2 now?
So it's crazy. Not just mom of two, but like 7 years apart, mom of two. Like
Right.
that's the wild part. It is really funny though, because like what you were saying, the three of us have known that this episode was going to happen since the last episode, because like we knew we were going to do like some sort of follow up. But then like literally I think the day I gave birth or the day after I gave birth, I was like, okay, Lila, so when am I going to be on the podcast?
Ready to go.
I'm like, girl, like you need to recover
I
first.
was like, this has got to be a podcast episode.
No, for sure. Because like Amelia has like 2 very wildly different birth experiences, which we'll get into in a second.
Yeah.
But and it was so crazy. And yeah, like I said, we've been teasing this for so long. But yeah, I mean, so you gave birth in November,
I gave birth
right?
in November. Yep.
And so Amelia was also a AMA, so she was advanced maternity age, unfortunately.
Advanced
The
maternal age.
geriatrics.
Yeah, they kept calling
I
me
hate the
geriatric, which
term.
was so horrible. And if anybody that's listening is over the age of 35 or is going to turn 35 when they're pregnant and they get labeled that, first of all, it's a joke because
It's a joke.
so many people are having babies older these days. Like nobody's not, well, people do, but like a lot more people are having babies in their 30s and early 40s, not whatever. It's a total joke, and you just need to tell your provider, like, stop calling me that. Because it's rude, and I don't like
Literally.
it. And I'm not geriatric. Yeah. Which
I know, like it's crazy. I know, yeah, a lot of women are having babies in their late 30s and early 40s, and like why, or like can we like redefine the term, or can we maybe 40 should be the advanced maternity age? I don't know, but like damn.
I know people in like other states that like it is older. It's not 35. Like in their state, it's like over 40
Oh, is that a
that they get
state thing?
called. I don't know. Like I don't know if it's an insurance thing. I do know it's an insurance thing actually. So I don't know if
Oh.
that's like state by state or how exactly that works, but yeah, just because you're advanced maternal age. Don't let your providers push you into things that you don't want to do and all that stuff, which was
Right. You did a lot of advocating for yourself during your pregnancy.
so much, including telling them to stop calling me geriatric. I was like, I work with geriatrics, like assisted living administrator. Like, I'm not geriatric.
Literally.
Yeah, and just other
Yeah, because
things
like, did it?
like they want to pressure you into induction. They want to pressure you into
Yeah.
like you have to you start taking like a low dose aspirin, which actually is not like that big of a deal, but there's not a lot of research about that actually being beneficial.
Well, yeah, she told me about this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell her what you. Yeah.
so it's like the risk of preeclampsia, I guess, goes up like the older you are or
Yes.
something. And
Right.
so they start you on a low dose aspirin, which is fine.
Mm.
Like, who cares? It's a low dose aspirin. But
Mhm.
when I actually gave birth and I was getting discharged, and I asked, like, hey, do I need to continue taking this? Because, like, I had to keep taking the iron because I was
Mhm.
pretty severely anemic. Um,
Mhm.
so I asked if I had to keep taking that, and the doctor who delivered me and then discharged me, she was actually like, "There's actually no research that like it does anything for preeclampsia. Like, we don't know where preeclampsia comes from, so we don't really know how to prevent it. Like, you don't
Huh.
have to take the low dose aspirin. Like, you shouldn't have even really been taking it because we don't really know. But like, no, she's
So weird.
yeah, it's so weird. Very enlightening
Yeah.
though, because I was like, oh, well, that's good to know for the future. Like, I can tell
Yeah.
people.
I mean, like, listen to your doctors, but like,
No,
yeah,
100%.
that's an interesting tidbit.
But also do your own research and, advocate for yourself. If it's not something you're comfortable doing, like, talk about it.
So you were told that they were going to induce you, and you were like no, and then so like what? So then tell us kind of like how it happened for you, because it did end up happening.
Wait, can we backtrack and talk about the
Yes.
first experience first? Because that sort of like, I think,
Right. Okay. Sorry. You're right.
changes why she wanted to have a different birth.
So yeah, so she gave birth 7 years ago to our beautiful firstborn, and
Yes.
go ahead and talk about what that experience was briefly.
Okay, so Henry, I was obviously 7 years younger, 7.5 years younger, because I know
Yeah.
he nitpicks that. So 7.5 years younger, and it was a very low risk pregnancy. Like, it was super smooth sailing. I had a very easy pregnancy. Um, like, basically no testing, no, like, I did like the you know your the NIPT, the NIPT.
Mhm.
Yeah, which I think you don't have to do, like, unless, like, we did it because of being like Jewish and the Jewish genetic testing stuff
Yeah,
too.
yeah, you don't have to do it. Some insurances don't cover it,
Right.
so it's like optional.
Yeah, but actually they will cover it if you're an Ashkenazic Jew. So, by the way.
Oh,
Um
good to know.
yeah. So we did that. We did like the 20-week anatomy scan, and like that was it. Like, I went in for my appointments, and they like made me pee in a cup and measured the belly and, my weight and blood pressure, and then they were like, "Bye." Like, that was it. I didn't have
Yeah.
further ultrasounds. I didn't have any stress tests. I didn't have anything. So
Wow.
anyways, my due date came and went. No, let me say this. At like 36 weeks pregnant, they like checked me to see if I was like dilated at all, and I actually was. And
Mm.
then at like 38 weeks, they checked me again, and I was like 4 centimeters dilated, and they're like, "Whoa, okay,
Wow.
like, could be any time." So like we kind of were on edge from like, yeah, about, I think it was like 38, 39 weeks, somewhere like that. But like I was having no contractions. Like, I literally had nothing. Um, and yeah, so like I kept working. My due date came and went, and they're like, okay, now you have to come in for a few extra appointments, whatever. We're going to be a little bit more on top of it. So at my 41-week appointment, they were like, okay, like, you haven't scheduled your induction yet. At this point, like, you're a week overdue. Like, we're not going to let you go to 42 weeks. So we're going to go ahead and schedule you. And they offered like a membrane sweep, whatever. So I ended up having two membrane sweeps with Henry that did nothing, as I was already dilated. And yeah. So basically, I scheduled my induction for a Monday. This was like, I think my appointment was on like Wednesday. I scheduled it for Monday. Well, Thursday afternoon, my water broke. So at work. It was like in the evening. It was the evening. Like most everybody had gone home. It was like 5. It was after 5. And
So
my water
crazy.
broke in the.
Well, it's so crazy that you were still working at 41.
Oh God! And everybody was
that.
like, "Go home and put your feet up and relax." And I was like, "If I go home, this baby's never gonna come out." Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, "No, I have to keep going." Yeah. So my water broke at 5:20, in the lobby at work, and I was like, "Okay," like, but I still had no contractions, so I was like, "I'm gonna like get things together and you know head home." And like
So crazy.
I go into like the conference room where the director of nursing was doing some interview or something, and I was like, "I'm pretty sure my water broke, but I'm not sure. Like, how do you know?" And she was like, "Get out of here! You're crazy. Get out of here." Um. So, anyways, I called Michael and I was like, "Listen, you know, my water broke, but I'm not having contractions. You know, they told me like wait until I'm having contractions to go into the hospital because like we were trying to do a very natural birth experience. And actually, the hospital that I birthed both boys in is very pro like natural birth, whatever, low interventions. They have like some sort of certificate. I forget what it's called. But yeah, so they actually do water births there as well. Like you can birth in the tub, where most hospitals, I guess, you can like be in the shower or you can be in the tub until you push and then they make you get out. But this hospital actually like lets you push in the tub. So that was our plan. So anyway,
A birth plan.
that was the birth plan. Yeah. So we get home. I get home. Like I was like, let me eat dinner real quick because who knows how long this is gonna go. So like we did like a couple of walks around the neighborhood. I was like squatting and lunging and doing all the things and trying to get contractions to get going. I got in a shower. Finally, the contractions started when I was taking a shower, and it was like they came on strong and fast. So my contractions, I think, were like 10 minutes apart, like right off the bat, consistently 10 minutes apart. So we got in the car, we headed to the hospital. By the time we got there, I was like 7 centimeters dilated, like back-to-back contractions, like it was happening. So they like triaged us, and then we admitted pretty quickly. And sorry, and yeah, so we got to the room, and they put the bands on you to like to track the heart rate and the contractions. And Henry's heart rate was dropping with every contraction that I was having. So, they did all the things, flipping me over and moving me this way and that way.
And you did not have an epidural at all. Like
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that was not like they were literally filling up the bathtub. Like our plan was to get in the bath. So like no epidural. So yeah, like literally there was like nurses like in the room. It was crazy. It was just a lot of chaos. Honestly, like thank God Michael stood in front of the machine, so like I couldn't see what was happening.
Yeah.
And like when you're in it, like you guys know, when you're in it and you're like having those contractions and you're getting ready to push, like you're not listening to what's being said around you.
No.
So like I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what was wrong, and it was really scary. But also like there were so many providers in the room that I'm like, obviously they've got this, right? Like
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You're in the best place possible for something to go wrong. You're in the hospital. So.
Exactly. So anyways, I got to 10 centimeters and I was like ready to push, and they were like, stop, the heart rate has dropped too far. This is now an emergency C-section situation. So it was like something out of Grey's Anatomy, ER, whatever, medical show you watch. That's what it is. Like literally like every doctor was like in the room. They brought in another gurney. They like put me on that gurney. They're like running down the hallway, like into the elevator. Like it was like a whole thing. And my poor husband like was not allowed to come because
Did they have time to tell you like, hey, this is happening, we're gonna put you under? Your husband like husband can't be in the room? Like, did they have time to tell you all that, or just sort of like
it was like, we gotta go? His heart rate dropped into the 40s for reference, and babies' heart rates are like over 100. So
like 120.
Hang on, sorry.
Oh yes, but disclaimer: little baby is here, so
and
she's still on maternity leave. So
yeah,
he needs to be picked up. He's going to be picked up.
Well, I'm trying not to. Like, I don't want him to cry. while we're recording.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, so it was like literally something out of the movies, and Michael had to be restrained by two nurses because he was like ready to come with. And they told him like, oh no, well, we're gonna give you like, you're gonna get scrubs and we're gonna like get you ready to go in, whatever. But meanwhile, it was all a distraction tactic. Because I didn't have an epidural, I had to be put under general anesthesia. So
that's so like, that is so interesting, because I could see the nurses like they have that tactic, because if they were to tell a husband like, no, she's gonna get put under and you can't, like, they're gonna be like, F you, I'm going in.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
It was really crazy. And like, I didn't know either what was happening. Like, I kind of assumed we would get down there and like they're gonna stick the needle in my back and like I'll be awake and like here's gonna come.
But there's no time.
But there was no time. So we got into the operating room. They moved me to the operating table, and this very, very nice nurse handed me a clipboard and she said, "Listen, this is a consent form. We need you to sign the consent form." So I was like, okay, like whatever. And she's like, okay. They put the mask on my face, count backwards. I did, and I was out. So, like, I do remember saying to them, like, save my baby. Because, like, I just didn't know what was going on. So, thank God Henry was totally fine. The cord was wrapped around his neck a couple of times, and but he came out screaming. And, I was in recovery for a couple of hours, but they took Henry right up to Michael. So Michael did the first, like, skin to skin. Got to like, have that special bonding with him, which unfortunately I didn't get, not right at the beginning at least. But I had an amazing team of nurses and doctors. And when I woke up in recovery, it was the same nurse who had been with me the whole time. And she, I asked her like, where's my baby? What's going on? And she was very kind. And she was like, you have a beautiful baby boy. Because by the way, we didn't know what we were having.
Oh yeah.
She's like, you have a beautiful baby boy, 10 fingers, 10 toes, everything's there. And then she was like, do you want to call your husband? Like, we can call up to the room and you can talk to him. And I was like, yes, please. So she called him for me so I could talk to Michael, and I could hear Henry, crying in the background. But they had to keep me in recovery because my blood pressure was doing some crazy stuff as a result of the
So Michael
anesthesia.
couldn't see you in recovery.
No.
Michael couldn't see you in recovery because he was with Henry.
He couldn't see me in recovery because they don't, like, when you're in recovery right after any surgery, they don't see you until you go to like the room.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So anyways, so yeah, eventually they took me up to the room and I did skin to skin with Henry, and he was able to latch and nurse. Like, there was no problem with that, and all was good. But it was a pretty traumatic thing. And he was born at midnight. So my water broke at 5:20, and Henry was born at midnight. 00:00 is what the clock read. So literally midnight.
Very cool.
Yes. Yeah. So that was birth story number 1.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm not okay.
Oh my God, she's not okay.
I mean,
no, I'm just,
listen, thank God,
because
like Henry was.
You describing that, because I've been through a C-section, and so like, and I was not in a C-section that you were in, and just like having no one there, and like you describing all that, I'm just imagining me going through that. Like, that makes me so sad.
Yeah.
Like, that's so scary. That's so scary.
It's so scary.
I know.
Like now looking back on it, especially now having had a very different birthing experience, I'm like, almost thank God it was a C-section, because I don't know what would have happened.
No, yeah, the both of you are here and healthy, and like that's all that matters. So yeah, it's like you can have this amazing birth plan and then it like completely go the literal exact opposite, and like
everything,
like it's just like however everybody comes out alive, like that's all that like that's literally any future birth plan. Like, it's just like if we're all alive and great, like that's my criteria.
The birth plan is to survive.
I feel like that's yeah. Well, birth, I feel like, is the like closest near-death experience. Like it's such
Yeah.
like any woman who's also given birth, C-section, vaginal, whatever. It's like the most near-death experience. You're literally between life and death, creating another life. Like it's the
And the pain
craziest thing.
scale is like the highest. Like everybody talks about how like it's the
Yeah.
most pain. I mean, and we'll get into that in a
And
second
things
with
can
you. But
turn so fast, and so yeah, your innate reaction is like just save the baby. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So they
that's
they said, the midwife said to me afterwards, she was like, essentially, it's like you went through it twice, because I did get to send 10 centimeters. I was pushing and they like stopped it and went to full
yeah,
C-section. So like, yeah, it was a crazy experience. Like to do that unmedicated and then go in and be like put out for the actual birth. It was, yeah, it was crazy. But like, thank God Henry was totally fine. He was 8 pounds, 2 ounces, 21 and a quarter inches long. Like his head was in the 99th percentile. Like he was a big baby. um,
yeah. I mean, he cooked for a long
he
time,
did.
so
he
He
did.
cooked
yeah,
extra long. I was 41.5
yeah.
when he was born. So yeah,
Oh my god, insane.
yeah, it was. But like, all good. Like I came home
So then,
and healed and went back to work at 13 weeks after he was born. And, you guys know the rest from episode 15.
right. So then, like, okay, so you've had that traumatic birth
Mhm.
experience, and then like getting pregnant again. Like, did that bring up anything for you?
So, I mean, obviously there's a big age difference, 7 years. And yeah, I mean, there definitely was a level of like, oh my gosh, could the same thing happen again? And um, that's part of like the advocating for myself. So when I had the
Yeah,
C-section,
you know so much more
I know so
now.
much more, and I had asked them multiple times after Henry was born, like, how long do I need to wait before I can try for a VBAC, a vaginal delivery? And I was told 2 years, a solid 2 years. If you wait, then like the chances are much higher, or whatever. Okay, so like now it's 7 years later, and they're like, when I said like I want to try for a vaginal birth, I didn't get pushback, but I was like, I got like the, are you sure? Like, um, that kind of talk. Oh, well, there's a risk of rupture and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, but you guys told me that if I waited, the chances were much better. So what is it?
Right.
Um, and then actually I came to find out,
It's so interesting that VBACs are so like controversial. I feel
In the
like,
medical
yeah,
world,
yeah,
they are. With doctors,
yeah,
you really have to find the right doctor.
yeah, that will like, yeah, that will,
A lot of doctors won't do it.
right,
Yeah.
you have to find the right doctor. And then I also found out that they actually don't call it a VBAC until it's a successful VBAC. It's called, oh gosh,
oh,
it starts with a T, but it's like trial of a VBAC
Mm-hmm.
instead of, yeah. So they call it
mm,
something different. So like when I went into the hospital, um, they kept calling it whatever the other acronym is. I wish I could remember. And I was like, no, I'm going for a
Yeah.
VBAC. And they're like, yeah, that's what we're saying. They're like, but we don't call it that yet. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay.
And I feel like there's like I know for a lot of doctors there's certain things they look for to be a right candidate. Like you sound like a perfect candidate because you were able to dilate to a
Mhm.
10. You were able to push. It was something out of your control, like a heart
Yes.
rate issue. Whereas I know like Ruby, other people like who weren't hurt, their body physically wasn't able to dilate. Well, that's kind of a red flag for a
Right.
doctor saying, well, you probably aren't going to dilate for your next pregnancy, or your birth canal's too small. Like there's certain things.
yeah,
But for your situation, or no, like a breech baby, which again is something out of your control, you're probably a good candidate next time.
Yeah.
So they look for those things.
And they did
Mhm.
like every time. So I mean, when you go to a practice, like you don't see just the one provider. You see like so in my case, I saw
yeah,
Mhm.
midwives. I didn't see it like an OB. And I saw like a few different midwives, and each one would ask, like when I saw them the first time, they like wanted to know the history there again. They'd be like, okay, so you've already had one birth, and what happened? Why did it have to be a C-section? And so every time I had to go through the story again.
Retell the story.
Yeah. So that was, and I again would be like, and I'm really trying to avoid having to do that again. So like I already
Yeah.
prepped I was like, I want that epidural as soon as I get to the hospital. Like I don't want to wait because I don't want to risk.
Oh, got
I don't
it,
want to
got it,
risk.
got it. So you didn't want to go for a natural VBAC. You
I
wanted an
wanted an
epidural just
epidural
as like a safeguard.
just in case because I knew I did not want to go under general anesthesia.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's so
Yeah,
smart.
I had a lot of
Yeah. Because with Ruby's emergency C-section,
She
he was
had
still
an epidural. in.
she already had the epidural, and Calvin, her husband, was able
Mhm.
to go in
Yeah, you're
because
able to go
yeah,
in unless you're under general
yeah.
anesthesia or it's something super emergent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
So I knew I didn't
So
want that again.
so then okay, so
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. So then this next baby, obviously you get pregnant, and okay, we're nearing the due date. Everybody's saying they want to induce you. You say no, and then they listen to you. They said, come every week and then we won't induce you.
Did they want to induce you just because of your age? That was the only
Yes.
thing?
So yes. So the recommended the recommendation is that you get induced at 39 weeks. Because after 40 weeks the placenta whatever again
Mhm.
it depends who you ask, and it depends, like the research is old. When I
Yeah.
had to
Right.
so my 20-week scan um this time around was with the MLM, the
Yeah,
the
the
high
high
risk
risk
doctor.
doctor.
Thank
MFM.
you. And yeah, when he was like showing us the data on like why the induction, because I kept asking like why 39 weeks, like why not just let me go till 40. um he was showing us data and these things about like the placenta starts to degenerate and all this stuff, um and the risk of stillbirth and all of these things, and I was looking at the data and so was my husband, and we were like, this is old information. Like this is stuff that's 20 years old.
Mhm.
It wasn't new data.
Yeah.
It wasn't things like current. And so we, obviously Michael was on board with everything I was advocating for because otherwise, you know. Um, but yeah, so I went into one of my appointments, I forget which one, and I basically said, like, you're not going to push me into an induction. Um, I'm not going to do it. And my due date was going to be right around Thanksgiving, and I kind of felt like that also played into it. Like I didn't want them to want me to get induced because they didn't want to have to, deliver a baby on
Right. Work on the
Thanksgiving.
holiday.
Well, if it ended up being that case. So anyway, so one of my midwives was, she's the one that she and I actually butted heads the most about stuff, but at the end she was the one who like worked it out with me, and she said, like, listen, you're right, you are in very good health. Like you don't have other, like I didn't have blood pressure issues, my weight was great, everything was measuring right, I was coming in for my appointments. She said, listen, come in for your appointments like you're supposed to, as often as we tell you to come, because also I was annoyed with that. She said, but if you do what we're telling you to do, we'll let you go past 40 weeks. She's like, and by the way, we don't induce on a
Shut
Friday.
up and let us do our
Yeah.
job.
She's like, and by the way, we don't induce on Fridays
And
and
then
we
you can
don't
do what
induce
you
on
want.
weekends. So like you could buy yourself an extra couple of days. Um, so yeah, so they had finally like agreed to let me go past 39 weeks, and I was super thrilled, and but yeah, I was following the rules, and I naturally went into labor at 39 weeks anyways. So on a Friday night, like
So funny. I know, because all of us were, well, at least like, well, because my birth plan for Amelia's birth was that because to make it all
yeah,
about me, I was gonna go take care of Henry while she went into the hospital. But I also like expected at least maybe another week. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, there's something.
Oh, because she went into labor like 42 weeks
almost,
almost.
yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, maybe so I really didn't expect another week. I had no bag packed. I had
We
nothing.
barely had anything
And
ready to
then,
go. I for sure, I was
no, well,
nothing.
which we'll
Okay.
get to that in a second because it was hysterical. But yeah, so you went, you right at like at 39 the
Hmm.
day, right? 39
Yeah.
and yeah. She it was Shabbat, and if you guys know, Shabbat is our day of rest, and there's no electricity, no phones, no except if there's like a medical event of
Right.
some sort, then of course you can break it. But like if you're going into labor, go to the hospital.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're not gonna be,
It's
yeah.
Shabbat. Yeah.
But it's just like so funny that he was born on Shabbat because it was like that was the one thing she didn't want, but like
Yeah.
it happened. Which whatever,
Yeah.
it's fine. But anyway, so go into what happened to you
So
that day.
I went to work as normal. It's a Friday, and I did my job, and like I was having some Braxton Hicks, but like I'd been having them, so no big deal.
Yeah, your second pregnancy, I had them
Yeah,
like
yeah.
literally since like 20 weeks,
And
so hard to
and I had
know.
gone to
Yeah.
the doctor the day before, or 2 days before. I can't remember, but I had an appointment that week, and at that appointment, she had checked me. Oh no, it was the day before. It was Thursday. It was Thursday morning, and she had checked me, and I had told her like, go ahead and let's do the membrane sweep now. So she checked me, and I think I was 3 centimeters, and then she did a really like a good membrane sweep. And it was funny because like I have a very high pain tolerance, and the midwife is like doing the membrane sweep, and she's like, "You okay? Oh, you okay?" And she's like, "Are you okay? I know this can be very uncomfortable." And I was like, "Are you doing anything?" She's like, "I'm like
Oh my God.
aggressively sweeping your membranes." And I'm like, "Okay, good. Like, let's get this show on the road."
Oh
Yeah.
my
So, but
God.
like nothing. I had nothing. No contractions after that, like whatever. So yeah, so I came home from work. I think I picked Henry up from the bus stop. I came home from work. I made Shabbat dinner. Like everything was rolling. And then I had lit my Shabbat candles to bring Shabbat in, and I was like, I think that might have been a contraction. And like I had a few of like moments before I like said anything because I didn't want to like freak Michael or Henry out. So I
Right.
was like, okay. I'm like, well, you know what, guys? Before we have dinner, let's go for a walk. And Michael's like looking at me, and I'm like, we're gonna go for a walk now. So we did. We walked down to our friend's house, and she was like, "Is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just, I'm having some contractions, and like, it's nothing major. Like, I'm walking through them, breathing through them. Like, they're like 15 minutes apart. Like, no big deal. Not consistent." She's like, "Okay," and I'm like, "But just so you know, like, you know." If things progress, we may be dropping Henry at your doorstep until my sister gets here from Orlando. If things progress, like, there's so many times where it's like false labor,
Yeah, so
So I'm
many.
like, if things keep going, like we might be dropping him off. And this was at like, I don't know, like 5, like almost 6 o'clock, maybe something like that. And yeah, so we walked home. We ate dinner together. Like we had our Shabbat dinner, did the blessings, everything. And like I was having contractions, and throughout the whole time, we were kind of loosely tracking them, and but I wanted to eat, so I had like a pretty substantial dinner, and Henry
Yeah.
knew something was going on, but how much does a 7-year-old little boy really understand? Like he doesn't know what's going on, and as far as he knows, like the baby comes out by being cut out of the mommy's belly. Like he doesn't understand
Yeah.
like
That was
all of the
great.
things that
Yeah.
happen, and so yeah, at like 7 o'clock, I think things got consistent, and I was like, okay, Michael, it's time to go take Henry. I'm gonna call Lila. Like, we gotta move.
And I was also, to make it about me, I was also having Shabbat dinner that night. And yeah, I got the phone call for like just so unexpected. I got the phone call at 7:30. I do remember it was 7:30. You guys were in the car on the way. And like she's like, "Hey, like my contractions are kind of, they're very consistent. Like we're on the way to the hospital." And I'm like, "Okay." So I literally leave my Shabbat dinner. I pack a bag and I just
Yeah,
come. I'm like, "Whatever, like screw you
yeah,
all." So I raced to Clearwater and get
yeah,
Henry, and yeah, I left at like 8:15, and I got there at like 10ish. Like I
yeah.
raced
And like,
there. So
thankfully, the friend like
yeah.
that he was staying with, like they had a bunch of people over for dinner themselves. So like Henry was entertained. Like he didn't know what
Yeah.
was going on.
Well, he was asleep when I got
Yeah,
there.
but like he's very comfortable. Like we go to their house all the time, so it was very easy. Um, so yeah, so we dropped Henry off. I had Michael walk Henry there while I jumped in the shower because again, like there's something about getting in the shower and like I don't know. I also just want it to be clean
For
because like it's
sure.
just it's such a
Yes.
gross thing that that happens when you give birth. Like I want it to start
Yeah.
clean.
Yeah.
And you never know when you're gonna be able to shower
Exactly.
again
Right. Yeah. No,
after.
very
Yeah.
smart thing
So
to
I
do.
showered, like finished packing my hospital bag because I was not ready to go. And like, yeah, we loaded up and drove to the hospital and um, called my dad, called Michael's parents, um, you know, his siblings. Lila knew already. So like we were on our way and we got to the hospital and the contractions were like back to back pretty much. Like I barely was able to they were like, "Do you want a wheelchair?" And I'm like, "No, I want to walk because it's better." Um and yeah, so we walked on up and I think I was 6 centimeters when they checked me, but my water hadn't broken yet.
Wow.
Um
Hmm.
I I thought it might have because like there was like little trickling of water, but and they tested it and it was amniotic fluid, but I was like, I like it just was it was weird. It was not
You haven't
no,
felt the
and I
gush.
did and I know sometimes you don't, sometimes it's just a trickle. So we
Mhm.
marked it like I had my water had broken earlier. And then when they were getting ready to take me from the triage room to the room that you deliver in, that was when my water actually broke. And like it actually broke. I had the
Good.
big gush. And it was funny because like it happened. I was like, Michael, go get a nurse because we were in there by ourselves. And he like goes out in the hall. He's like, I'm pretty sure her water just broke like for real this time. And they like came running in and like cleaned it up and put me in the wheelchair and like we went over to where eventually he was born. Um so yeah, basically once we like got in the room, their big thing was about monitoring the heart rate. Um just because that
Right.
was the previous experience and so um
Mhm.
yeah, I also kept asking for the epidural and
I was gonna ask, like, what's your immediate thing, like
yeah,
epidural
so
now?
I when we got into triage, so we also had a doula this time. Um,
Oh, yeah. I want to hear
yeah,
all
so
about that too.
we had hired a doula, and also like with her, we didn't really get a chance to do our our pre visits because there was
Mhm.
like the hurricanes that were happening, and then like every time we were scheduled, she ended up having a birth. Like it was really crazy, but we had like one in person visit with her, and then I did like a virtual with her. And then we were supposed to on that Sunday have a like our last visit before my due date to like go over kind of strategies and like pain management methods and everything, um, positions, that stuff that you can do with an epidural. And yeah, so when I got to triage and I told them like my doula is coming, they were like, okay. So when I asked for the epidural, they're like, oh, well, we weren't expecting you to ask for an epidural because we figured you wanted something natural because you have a doula.
Yeah.
Well, just because you have a doula doesn't mean it has to
Exactly. So I was
be.
like, no,
Yeah.
I told, like, I was like, I had this experience last time and I don't want it again. So no, I want the epidural. So like, okay. So yeah. So anyway, so we get to the delivery room and I'm like, still like, these contractions are really fast and like, where's the epidural? And I kept asking like, where's the epidural?
Yeah.
When is the latest that I can have the epidural? Because like I knew I knew I was getting ready to like oh, he's sleeping now.
I feel like you didn't even really want the epidural for the pain aspect. You just wanted it more so like
Like
as
as a
like a
preventative.
safeguard
Yeah,
in
like I
case something.
needed that peace of mind that
Mhm.
like if things turned that I would be okay. But yeah, so like and the
Yeah.
core nurse, she was so nice. She was like holding the monitors on me because I'm like moving all around, like trying to get relief, and they weren't staying on with the straps, so so she was
Yeah.
literally like her job was holding these monitors on
Like
me.
holding it on your belly.
Yeah, those
It was
monitors are
so
so
annoying.
annoying. Like you'd think they'd have a different.
Yeah.
system.
So she's like holding them. The other one's like charting, and like they're asking me to sign consent forms. And like Michael's like, "Can I sign them for her? Like she's like can't breathe." And the lady was like, "No, like she has
Yeah.
to sign them for herself." But in that, we learned that the risk of rupture, of like a uterine rupture in a VBAC, by the way, is like 0.1%. It's
It's very
very
small.
small.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not even a 5% chance. Like so tiny, like please leave me alone about this, you know? But that was like one of the things I
Yeah.
had to sign a consent form that I understood the risk of rupture. Um, anyways, so like the poor nurse that's holding the things on my stomach, and I'm like, "Where's the epidural?" And she's like, "Well, you can have it right up until the baby's in your arms, honey." And I'm like, "Okay." But like that, like we were talking about before, like the nurses having to hold back Michael and telling him like we're gonna get you like ready to go. It was the same thing. Like her telling me that like calmed me down. It like made it like I was like, okay,
Oh.
there's still like the epidural's still coming.
So basically, yeah, that was their diversion of
Yeah.
like, no, bitch, like
Like, no,
you're
honey, this is happening.
you're not
Yeah.
getting an epidural. You're doing this
Yeah.
unmedicated.
Well, it makes so much sense though. Like, I'm not calling these nurses liars, but they got to do what they got to do sometimes. Because like, if she had told you, "Hey, the anesthesiologist is backed up like 3 hours,"
Oh, I
you
would
ain't
have been
getting
like
it.
panicked.
Obviously, you would
Yeah.
freak the F out. So they gotta stall somehow.
That's
Yeah.
so
No,
funny.
it's called therapeutic fibbing. Like it's a real thing.
I know. I
Yeah.
totally understand it.
Yeah.
Therapeutic fibbing.
We use
I
Okay.
it
dig it.
like when you're dealing with somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's. You can, you know, yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they totally were doing that with me. So anyways, uh it's a Friday night in the hospital, like the week before Thanksgiving, and like God bless them all because they're running on a skeleton crew. So there was like one midwife, one OB,
Mhm.
and one anesthesiologist, and they were all in a C-section. So
Mm.
it got to the point where like I needed to push, and they were like, okay, like we'll do some practice, like we just do not practice pushes, like they were like, if you feel the need, like you have to push, like go ahead, like just follow your body's lead. So I was like, okay. My midwife was not even there, or not midwife, my doula was not even there yet. She was like on her way. Like we all thought we
Well, because this happened from the time you got to triage to like pushing. That was what, like an
Yeah,
hour and a
something
half,
like that.
or
We got to the hospital.
yeah, like that's crazy
Yeah.
Yeah,
fast.
like
By the
Yeah.
so
way,
fast, so
crazy.
fast. So yeah, so I actually like got on my hands and knees because that was like the most. It felt like the right position to get into. So I got on my hands and knees and I
Mhm.
pushed a few times that way. But like now that I know what a push actually is, like those were not pushes. I was just like bearing down.
Mm.
And then I was like, yep, this isn't going to work. Like my feet are falling asleep. Like, no. like, so we switched positions. And at that point, when we switched positions, was when my doula finally like came running in, and she like threw her bag down. She's like, let's go. And then the midwife also came in, like so upset. She's like, sorry, they just pulled me out of a C-section to like come. Um, so yeah, so then like they got me in a different position. I started pushing again, and like that was when I figured out how to push. Like I could actually feel the difference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, that's the one nice thing about no epidural I've heard is you can kind of like feel you can control your pushes more because you know what you can feel
yeah,
what's going on. Whereas
Yeah.
epidural, you
yeah,
don't really know
it's
what's
yeah,
going on.
you like really know, you can feel like when they say like the different stations or whatever, like I could actually like feel the baby descending. Um
Oh
That's
my
yeah,
crazy.
it's really
God.
tricky, but also like very, there's like power in it. Um
Oh
Yeah,
Oh,
and
for
yeah.
like your body
sure.
completely takes control. Like my brain, like I like you take classes and you like practice breathing and like all this stuff, but like it has none of it applies.
Yeah.
When you're there and you're
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
doing it, like your body just takes complete control. It's very animalistic. Like
Yeah. Brilliant.
you just do it. And like I had Michael on like the side of me, and he's like I don't think I was even holding my hand. Maybe he was maybe I was holding his shirt. I can't remember. But I was like holding him. He's like holding my leg. My doula's on this side, and she's like reassuring me in my ear, and she's like telling me like you're doing such a great job, and like all the affirmations that like I needed to hear, and like she was like she was really coaching me on pushing. Um, and then like the nurse holding the things on my stomach, and then the midwife like there, and then
that woman's still there.
yeah, and then like the NICU or the pediatric nurse or whatever is like standing by, like so there's all these people, and then like there's another nurse like prepping. You have to like prep all the tools or whatever, like
Yeah.
the
I forget you didn't have this
no
experience last time because you
yeah.
literally just got born.
So
Yeah. So when all the team comes in, that means
game
Like
on,
it's
yeah.
go
about to go
time.
It
Yeah.
down.
all happened
Yeah.
so fast, like it was crazy. And then basically I was like pushing like that ring of fire, whatever. And like they wanted me to wait, and I was like, nope, it's coming. And I just pushed again, and like he was born.
What position were you in
I
when
was
he
on my
came out?
back, but like
Okay.
by natural, like I put myself in that. Like I was on.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
No, like
curious. Like, yeah.
they wanted me on my side actually, and I was on my side for like a couple of pushes. That's where like he really
Mm.
descended while I was pushing on my side. But then like it's so crazy. Like my legs fell asleep. Like I couldn't do it. I was like, I gotta get in a different position. So yeah, so I ended up on my back, and yeah, he was born. I pushed for 30 minutes, and he was born. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It was really fast. And so he was born at 11:07 on
Wait, so you also
no.
did not know the gender, right? So was Michael the one who like saw it and said it, and like is that kind of how it
Um
went down?
who said it? I don't remember if Michael said it or the midwife said it. Or not the midwife.
Hmm.
So the OB, sorry. So the OB came in. So when I switched over to my back and like literally like that ring of fire, that's when the OB walked in. And she also was like, I'm sorry, like, so she's the one who actually delivered him, not the midwife. But yeah, it was uh I don't remember if it was her or if it was Michael who said, but Michael got to cut the cord, which he didn't have
Hmm.
that experience last time. Like we got that
Yeah.
Wow.
immediate skin to skin. They like put him on top of me, and he's like purple, like
Yeah.
they're not like when I saw Henry, he was already like,
They're
no,
not
like
cute. They're
Henry was
not
No.
already
no.
cleaned up, like had the little cap on his head and everything. Like,
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, and I will say my husband says that all the time. Like a C-section baby comes out so much cuter because they have the round head because they didn't go
yeah,
through the birth canal and they're not yeah, there's so
yes.
much at like a vaginal baby, they come out looking funky. They got the
I
cone
will
head and it's
say,
just all
They're just
crazy.
I will
swollen.
say,
Yeah.
like so Xander didn't have the cone head or like the smushed because it was so
No, he
fast.
didn't.
There wasn't time for him to get squished.
Hmm.
He did have like
Yeah.
one little thing on the top of his head where like the bone, like it's almost like a ridge
Hmm.
almost, but that was it. Like no cone head, no smushed face. Like he came out. He like came
No,
out
he's.
so
I mean, yeah.
fast.
You called me at 7:30. She gave birth
Yeah.
at 11.
That's
Like
crazy.
it's really crazy.
But I'm glad it sounds like it was so much redeeming.
Oh
Like
my
it was a lot
gosh.
more redeeming for you. You got to do all the things that
No.
you didn't get your epidural,
It was
but
very it
Which
was
like
you
very
didn't need it.
therapeutic. Um
Yeah.
so like having no epidural like really tell us the
The
pain.
fact that you
Like
can stamp that on your resume,
like
like
tell really like come on, give us the tea
I
on the
mean, it's
pain.
bad. It's really bad, but also like
Yeah.
well, and you
mhm.
had to get did you have to get
Yes.
stitches?
So I did
Did
have
you
a
have to get
tear.
stitches?
Oh, and that
I did
without
have
an
a tear,
epidural.
and I will say like that the pain of the stitches almost is worse than the pain of giving birth.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it was
I know, I'm sure.
horrible, and they like give you lidocaine, like they like the same way like when you getting like a tooth filled or whatever, and they like lidocaine your like it does nothing though down there. It does nothing down
Yeah.
there. So yeah,
Wow.
I literally felt every stitch that she did. But like they do the stitches while the baby's like on
Yeah.
top of you, so like you're also like mentally
Right.
Yeah.
distracted.
Hmm.
You have like
But I did
adrenaline.
kept feeling it, and I kept like
Yeah.
moving, and she's like, "You have to hold still," like because it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No, that is
Um,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, it is a pain like you've never felt before, but also like the like affirmation, the thing I kept telling myself was like, I can do anything for a minute. Like your contractions are not that long. Like you get a break in between, which actually the way my labor went, like I didn't really get very many breaks because it happens so quickly. Like a lot of my understanding, at least, is a lot of people like get, you know, like their contractions don't end up like right on top of each other like mine do. They have like a couple minutes
Yeah.
of a break in between. I never really got that, but I would
Yeah.
get like a like maybe 30 seconds to like catch my breath and then go again. Um yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy, but like being able to move also helped, like not being kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
stuck in like one position. Um but yeah, like my legs just gave out on me. I don't know, like they were like, we're going to just fall asleep everywhere you go. Like I tried to stand up at one point and like my legs were like, we're not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that you are
Superwoman.
superwoman. You will forever, yeah, have that
The fact that you can just say that, like
say like
I
you
would
gave
say
birth
I would try to
unmedicated.
work that into any sort of conversation.
Yeah, like I gave birth unmedicated. What have you done?
Hmm.
Like you have one marriage for the rest of your marriage,
I
like
have
for
one
sure.
what? Oh, I've
Like
won
you've won
marriage.
marriage, like
Like
Yes.
meaning
you don't have to
like
do the dishes. I
Yeah.
gave birth
yeah, like
unmedicated.
I would use that for the rest of my
You
life.
don't have
I'd
to
be like,
cook. I gave
or
birth
if
unmedicated.
Michael's like I'm sick, and you'd be
Oh
like
no,
I gave birth
literally.
unmedicated. Like
Literally. I've
please, like
already like
yeah,
But even also, you had an emergency C-section. Like two of the most badass. Like any way you give birth is like badass. But
yeah,
like you gave birth like
yeah.
the two
And you
craziest
know what?
badasses ways.
yeah, like completely
Two
ends
different
of
ends,
the
but no
spectrum.
epidural either time. Like
Right, right,
True.
yeah.
right. I know. No, it's you're amazing, Amelia. I know, and like just again to bring it back to me. So when when all this was happening, yeah, I put Henry to bed, and I I was texting but Michael was not answering. Like yeah, I
Oh.
was like, I need, because I think I was texting you guys while it
Yeah.
was happening too, and I'm like, she's pushing, but I have no idea. Like I don't
You
know
were
what.
like that annoying relative who like wanted the details.
Well, I think like I was the one that deserved it the most, right? So like I don't know. I was just like, "Are you okay? Is she okay?" Like, because my mind was going to like, she's back in a C-section. I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
just like,
Because
yeah,
you kind of go back to that trauma too, because you were there. Like
yeah.
you know
So
that.
it's, and also like that's my sister, you know. So and he just like was not answering for a while, and like then like his shit was so vague.
Yeah, that was
He was
really.
so like, I'll never forget the text exchanges with
Well,
your
so
husband.
so
Like
wait, let me tell you like two
he's
things
like,
from the
she
inside,
is
from like
pushing
what was going on our end. Like number one, I had to tell him to put his phone away. Because he was like texting too many people. It
because it
wasn't
was
just
me.
you. He was texting like his friends. He was texting the parents. He was texting like our parents. He was texting his siblings. Like everybody's getting a text, and I was like, "Stop! Like I need you here now. Put the phone away." And
Hold
then
on.
while I'm pushing, so there's all these, there's different machines, monitors, beeping, things going on. And my husband is a type 1 diabetic, and he has an insulin pump. And what
Oh.
starts beeping while I'm pushing? His insulin pump. So it's like, and the nurses,
Not to make
right, not to
everything
make it about
about
him. And the
him.
nurses, like everybody's looking around. They're like, "What is making that beeping noise? Like, what machine is that? What error is happening?" Like nobody knew. And finally, and he's not saying anything. He's just like letting it beep. And I was like, "It's his insulin pump." And they were like, "Oh, do you need
Yeah.
something? Like, does he need a?" And I was like, and that's when he was like, "No, I stopped it from giving me insulin because I'm good right now, and I don't want something to happen." But then like after I gave birth, like when we were like in that couple of minutes after, when like they had taken Xander over to like the warmer and were like doing their stuff with him, and I was like sitting finally, like they had finished stitching me up. I was like in like this bliss of like what just happened to me, and like was recapping everything with my
Yeah.
doula, and they're like waiting for a room to take us to. At that point, Michael's insulin did drop, and like thankfully our doula followed instructions and she brought a bunch of snacks. Michael also did have snacks with him. The nurses brought a
That's
bunch of
so
snacks, but
good.
it was funny. My doula, yeah,
They were like, "Oh, are
everybody's
you
like
okay?"
worried about
Meanwhile,
his
she's
insulin,
Like,
and I'm over here like, can I
yeah.
eat something, please?
literally, I just
No, like, yeah, forever the
Yeah.
men are like superior. It's so crazy.
Have you seen those videos of like the men faint like during labor and like all the nurses
And they're
just
like,
come rushing,
oh.
water, wet towel, and meanwhile the
Yeah.
woman's like, "Are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me?" Like,
No, he was fine. He was totally fine.
No, so let me okay, so like at 10:16, admitted question mark. I'm almost at Sylvia's, getting on to 19 now, getting Henry now. And then like he said nothing and then he just wrote it's a boy. And I'm like, "Wait, what? That was fast. Jesus Christ. Baruch Hashem." And yeah, they're fixing her up now, and I was like, "She got her feedback. How big is baby? Oh my god, Henry's going to be so happy. Michael, that was so insanely fast. She was amazing. We need you to wash the newborn clothes, please." Like
get
I'm
to
like
work.
I'm like, "Yes, I'm doing." Cuz actually, yeah, so let me tell you. So I get Henry, I come back to the house. Their Shabbat table is still like set,
But like
like they put
everything
the
was still
food away,
out.
but
Yeah.
like the plates were still out, like yeah, like the poor, like these poor people, like literally look, it looked like I left like a crime scene of like Shabbat dinner. So I like washed their dishes. I had already like, because actually, thank God I came the
Mm-hmm.
week before to help like clean and organize, and yeah, we did some like nesting things, and yeah, so then like it was just, yeah, it was funny. Just Michael was so vague, like with all of his text messages, and just like,
Savannah, get it together.
yeah, and like was taking a long time. I know. I'm like, hello, like,
I know. A
but
mess.
it's fine. But
Yeah.
but yeah. So no, so exciting to have another nephew, and he's so
Yeah.
cute and
And then
perfect, and
Lila got the big honor
like,
of bringing Henry to the hospital to meet. Hey, what?
yeah.
What's happening?
He's like, "Are you talking about
Yes,
me?
I
You
am
didn't
talking
talk
about
about me
you.
yet."
Yeah, so that was like really, we have two videos, one of Lila's perspective of like walking into the room with Henry, and then Michael recording from in the room, like Henry walking in. So
So sweet. Yeah, that
so
moment is
special.
priceless.
And all
Yeah.
Henry like wanted to do was kiss him, and we were like,
Yeah.
well, like you can kiss his toes, and Henry's like, okay, I'm gonna mwah, 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 like all in his head, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
hello.
they got no
He
boundaries.
just said.
Yeah.
Well, what was so funny was like I really wanted to respect Emilia and Michael's wishes, like in regards to like, what do you want me to tell Henry? What do you want him to know versus not know? Because if it were me, I would have been like, you had a boy, and little, like I would have like said everything. So like I was like, no, 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 let me step back for a second and ask them what they want as Henry's parents. So I called and I asked, and they were like, okay, like tell him that we had the baby and that he'll come later, and that's it. So Henry, he woke me up, and I was like, "Hey, so you have a sibling?" And he was like, "Is it a boy or is it a girl?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not telling you that right now because you're gonna go to the hospital later and you're gonna meet your new sibling. But mommy's fine, everything's fine." He's like, "But tell me, like, is it a boy?" And he like looks at me, and I'm like, I don't know." And he's like, "Is it a girl?" And I'm like, "Henry, I don't know." He goes, "Yeah, I don't think you even know." And I was like, "I do know. I'm just really trying to respect your parents, damn it." So, and then he
Yeah.
FaceTimed you guys. I don't know if you remember. So then we FaceTimed them, and Michael looked, sorry, Henry took one look at the baby and was like, "It's a boy." And then you see Amelia and Michael go like,
Yeah.
"Well, how do you know? Like, it could be a girl." And because they wanted him to wait to know that it was a brother till but
Yeah,
no, Henry
he
was like,
knew.
no, it's a boy.
But Henry was like, so a lot of people thought I was having a girl. Like a lot of people kept telling me like, oh, it's a girl, because I had such a rough pregnancy and like I was so sick and everything. And then Henry though had stuck to his guns that it was going to be a boy from like when we told him. He's like, oh no, I'm having a brother. It's going to be a brother. I'm having a brother. And yeah, so he knew.
Yeah.
He was one of the few that were right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
And
knew.
then he like announced it to everybody
So,
also.
yeah.
He like told a
Yeah.
lot of people that it was a boy. Yeah.
No. So like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Blessings on blessings. So, and now little one is 2 months old and you're about to go back to work soon. How are you feeling about all
Well, I
that?
go back to work next week and I could use some more time off. Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
I will say this. So we didn't really talk about recovery from either birth types. So number one, it is a big difference, like 7 years on mommy's body. Like it's different. C-section recovery
Right.
was hard, but it's different. Like you're not like you don't have to like worry about how you sit down. You have to worry more about like when you laugh or sneeze or cough, like holding your stomach. From that, and like the stitches. I mean, 2 weeks. They were gone. Like there was gone. There was nothing. Um, and then this recovery. I mean, he made a mess on his way out and having stitches and everything. Like I felt very unprepared for what that what the aftercare would be. Like I was not prepared for like having to use ice packs and witch hazel and not being able
Oh
to
my
sit
god.
down.
It's a whole
Yeah.
ritual every time you go pee
Yeah.
or God forbid poop too. It's just a whole
I had
ritual for
no
it takes like
idea. And
20
like
minutes.
I couldn't even sit down straight. Like I had to sit either like on an angle or like on a pillow. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't sit and like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like yeah,
It's
you
no
use a
joke.
peri bottle for both because like people don't realize when you have a C-section, like you still bleed. Like you still have a gaping wound in your
Yes.
uterus. So like that still happens. That
Yes.
cleanup is necessary, but like you don't have the other stuff. Um, and yeah, so
Right.
that was really, I think the aftercare was really difficult. And I struggled a lot with like just not feeling good. And then like this one had trouble latching. And then he was jaundiced. So we had to like the anxiety of dealing with the
Yes.
jaundice
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like back and forth to the doctor a whole lot. And like
Yep.
that was stressful. And then having to like parent a 7-year-old while trying to recover
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
deal with newborn. And like thank God
Yeah.
Henry's so good. Like
Yeah.
he was so helpful. And
Yeah.
so he's such a like sweet little boy. But it's really hard to do all of that. And like it took I would say it took like a good 3 weeks for me to like feel even a little bit back to normal. Uh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Where like I felt like it didn't take that long
It's,
after the C-section. Mm-mm.
yeah, there's no good way. Either way is,
Yeah. I also feel like just like recovery when you have
Mm-hmm.
two kids is just harder. Like what because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you don't get a break. Like when you just have one child, you can hand the newborn to your husband and like go recover and all that. But it's like you're constantly it's
Yeah.
man to man defense as I like to
Mhm.
call it. Like you have one, your husband has one, and so you can't take the time you need to rest. Your body really needs to rest. Like in other
Yeah.
countries, the maternity
Yeah.
leave, I mean, we could get on. It's crazy because your body literally, like I said, went through this almost near death experience. You need to recover. So I just think in general when you have more than one child to care for, it's really hard because it's the balance of like, well, you have to be a part of this family because you got to help, but also your body just went
Like,
through
thank God
something
Lila
crazy.
stayed for a couple of days. She stayed until we came home from the hospital,
Yeah.
and then stayed. You stayed one night with us, 2 nights with us, one more day,
I stayed
and
one more
then my
day
in-laws
after that.
came,
Yeah.
and my in-laws
Mhm.
stayed with us for 3 weeks. And like, thank God, my mother-in-law was like on top of the laundry. My father-in-law was
That's so
like
nice.
picking Henry up from school and taking him to
Oh yeah, not to
yeah.
mention those like the household tasks, like all
No,
that,
Yeah.
like it never
it doesn't
ends.
end. Like, and yeah,
No.
Henry still had to go to school. Henry still had to have his after school activities and his lunch packed, and like all these groceries still have to be bought. And like, thank goodness, like my in-laws are retired, and so they came. Oh, you fell asleep. They came and stayed with us for 3 weeks until I was like good. Um, and it was also like
Yeah.
Thanksgiving break, so like Henry didn't have school, and they like entertained him. So, all that stuff that
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
And
for
then like
sure.
it,
Yeah, I think when you have one, it's like
mhm.
you're in that newborn bubble. You and your husband are usually off work. You can take the time and relax. But yeah, when you have second, third on, it's like
Yeah,
the world just goes, goes,
yeah, there's
goes.
You just
just
keep
So
going.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's crazy. I could do with like, I guess if I had like another month or two off, I just would feel a little bit better. I don't know, like my daycare situation this time is also a little bit different. He's going to be with friends,
Mm.
which they live only a mile from where I work, so actually it's really good. um, and like, I'll be able to like, if I need to go nurse him in the middle of the day, I can do it. It's not a big deal, which is definitely
Yeah.
nice. But the responsibility of picking up and dropping off from daycare solely, or uh, babysitting, whatever, like solely falls on me. Like, Michael is the complete opposite direction. It makes zero sense for him to be the one. So there's a little bit of pressure with that too. Like, it changes things where, like, with Henry, both of us were able to like do pick up and drop off, but like, that's fine
Yeah.
because now Michael can do Henry's pickup and drop off. Like,
Yeah. We
Yeah. You
literally
just
have to divide and conquer that.
divide and conquer.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Really have to be a
it's
team. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
it
not.
is
It's
one to
it's one to
one.
one now.
There's a
One to
lot
one.
of yeah. We're like figuring out, like, my love of going shopping at 9 p.m. right now is like not happening.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it probably will happen again once I'm back to work, because like now, I'm home. I can go shopping during the day, which is great. And like, they just opened a
Mhm.
Trader Joe's by us, so like we're going to Trader Joe's, and like,
Uh,
yeah,
Ooh.
it's
Nice.
it's been
jealous.
a fun time off, and I've really enjoyed getting to spend some one-on-one time with Xander. And then like, Henry was home for winter break too, which was nice, and we did some fun stuff as a family. Henry went and spent a couple days with Lila, which was so nice. Yeah, he loved that.
Yes.
Um, so fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah,
I love my
he's the
firstborn
best.
so much. Yeah. No, it's um
What
yeah.
time?
What a time.
Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful time. Well, before we wrap up, um we like to do the mom win and mom fail of our week, which is our segment of just that. So we talk about a win that we experienced and a fail, because we're not perfect, even though I like to think that I am. But yeah. So what Savannah, you want to start?
Oh, okay. I was trying to think of this in the car. I always wait till the last minute and I'm trying to think. And really, like, I debated even talking about this too because it's like a controversial topic. But we're scrunchy moms, so we talk about screen time. So my win and fail all revolves around screen time.
Okay.
So, and I'm an advocate for screen time, as we talk about. However, I've come to realize this last like couple months, like obviously there's good and bad with it, and then there's sort of ways that you need to handle it. Okay, so I'll explain. So the holidays, as I mentioned in the last couple episodes, obviously the kids get off the routine, they go to grandparents, they're just given like candy, chocolate, screen time, like off of his routine. I'm mostly talking about my 3-year-old. And so obviously the screen time probably went up a little. And I just noticed like his behaviors were kind of crazy. And I'm sure it's like the combination of all of it, right? So but I knew we were gonna like get back on track. But then I just noticed like this last couple weeks, he's been really bad with like transitioning off of any sort of screen. So like immediately when we would end it, the behaviors, because I feel like, oh well, I've gotten the thing, like I don't have it now, so I can, F shit up. So, and like the thing that like was my mom fail of, well, the whole thing is a fail, just kind of getting off of our routine with the screen time. But so he does speech therapy twice a week, and he was staying with my parents. So my mom took him to speech therapy. So granted, I think it was a change of person. Like it's grandma. He can kind of, because he goes to speech therapy, like no issues, walks in, does his thing. So she calls me during his session. Well, he's supposed to be in this session. She FaceTimes me because she wants to show me. Like, it was not my child. He was literally scream crying under the table, having home out, like, refused to do the session. Literally, we had to cancel the session. I mean, we still paid for it, but literally did a session. So, like, obviously after that, I, like, regroup with her. I'm like, what happened? Like, he never acts like that. So it finally comes out that like she had given him not like a show on her phone, but like he was on the phone looking at pictures and stuff, which I never classified to myself as screen time, but like to him it's he got so when they were sitting in the lobby waiting to go in, she like gave him the phone, he was looking at pictures, and then the teacher came out, so she took it away, and it was that sort of like, and like I'm not blaming my mom because you wouldn't think that would set off somebody. And also, I never told her, like, don't give him the phone to look at pictures. But anyway, that showed me, like, okay, we need to, like, settle down. Because, like, if he can't even handle that, like, not okay. So we've been doing kind of like a cleanse on screen time. Like I said, I'm a scrunchy mom. Like, I'm a supporter of screen time. I'm not shaming anybody. But you just need to
sometimes you need to do a cleanse. Yeah,
you need to do a cleanse. It kind of works. But so I was like, you know what? Done with holidays, we're going to cleanse when you're home at least. So we've been sort of pushing it off. Like he gets it after dinner at night only. So like when everything of the day's already earned, right? He's already done his things, done his, we do like speech. He does like his words and stuff. So everything's already been earned. So there's nothing he can F up because he's, so we've been doing that. And that's my win, is like, it's been doing really well. He's like, his behavior is so much better. He's like back to the person I know.
By the way, that doesn't get better.
Yeah.
At 7 years old, the screen time is still like coming off the screen time, off the it's still a fight. It's like, turn your iPad off. No, you watched your last episode. Turn it off. We're done.
Yeah.
And like the the trying to negotiate and all that. It doesn't end. It continues. Just so you know, get ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, what about you?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so
you wrote it down.
I did. So my mom win is that I bought Jonah a tricycle like a while ago, and like a lot of people have bought him different vehicles of sorts,
toddler vehicle.
but I bought like a tricycle that I knew he would actually like reach the pedals and fit, and like he's actually like he's really starting to get it, and I really like, that's something I'm most looking forward to, is like taking him out on the tricycle and like going around the circle and stuff like that, because like it's just good, and he has little legs. He needs to strengthen those polkas,
Is that the bike
so
Henry was riding? Yeah.
Oh my God, Henry was obsessed with this bike. Yeah. So just the win is like he's finally starting to understand, like, I keep my feet on the pedals, and we're getting closer to the let's go outside. So I don't know, that's a win, because that's a skill that I've really been wanting him to learn. So and then my fail is just like, I pulled my back on Saturday. Yeah, I threw out my back. I don't think I've even told you, Emilia. I threw out my back on Saturday. And it's been so terrible. Let me tell you, it's just been the worst. And it was because I lifted Jonah up, and I don't know, I guess I turned, I don't know, I'm almost 35. Maybe my body is failing me. I don't know, but it just like, I have been messed up ever since. And it's like, I can't do anything. Like sitting is fine, but like when I get up is when it's hard. But then when I'm up for a while, I'm okay. But then like I don't know, it's been a struggle for the last 48 hours. So, and then I had to call my mother-in-law, because I was like, I can't parent today. Like I'm like Saturday, I was flopping around like a pancake on the couch, literally like trying to slide, trying to get up. I could, it was like in a movie where you pull out your back. It was so crazy. So yeah, I called her and I was like, because Sam like had some errands to do and yeah, so it was just like, so it's just been really difficult. So I hope I get better, but right now these last 2 days have been really rough. So anyway, how about you, Emilia?
Okay, I did have time to think about it. Lila did prep me, but I don't know, like if this is a win or I don't know what. Hang on. I have a very. He's decided to be needy because we're doing this, and you know.
Yeah.
Okay. So the win, I think, is just that like we're surviving over here, and everybody's like well fed and taken care of and
Huge win.
dressed, and like Henry gets to school on
Absolutely.
time, and like all of those things are big wins right now with the baby. Oh, and you know what? The big MVP here is
Yes.
Xander, who sleeps. You wouldn't know now because he is not sleeping. Every time I set him down, he's waking up.
Well, that's usually they are kind of like terrors in the day, the ones that
He
sleep good at night.
he
Yeah.
They
literally
get it all
sleeps
out during the day.
like 5, 6, 7 hours at night. Like it's so amazing. Yeah, so that's definitely
Beautiful.
what? No, no, we're almost done. We're almost done. And I think the fail is okay. And this is calling out Henry, and I hate to embarrass him, but I'm going to embarrass him on the internet on the podcast. So Henry still has accidents at night sometimes. But that's like totally normal. Like 7 years old, it's okay. It doesn't happen every night. It's. So Saturday night he was up a little bit later than normal on Saturday night. I think there was maybe a football game or something. I don't remember. But anyways, we all slept in until 9:45 in the morning. Sunday morning. I don't know how that happened.
Incredible.
Like, crazy.
Amazing.
But we all did. We all slept in. So Henry came into our room, and I don't know if I was feeding Xander or if Xander was just waking up, and I was doing something. I was distracted, and he said to Michael, like, I woke up like super sweaty and like very wet, and Michael was like, okay, so don't get in our bed if you're like sweaty and wet, go take off your pajamas. Like, what are you doing? And like that was it. So Henry like goes to his room, he gets dressed for the day, comes back in our room, whatever. We all get moving. Nobody thinks anything of it. So it's like last night, and Henry goes to get into bed, and he's like, "Mom, my bed smells." And I'm like, "Smells like what?" And he's like, it really smells. You need to come smell my bed. I go in there, when I tell you, like, saturated. His bed was saturated. The
Oh
poor
my
kid,
God.
I don't know, like, what kind of pee-pee he had, but, like, also he slept in, and, like, I don't know, like, I could not be mad at him, but, like, it sat in urine all day, and, like, he couldn't fall asleep last night because everything he felt like still smelled like pee, and it was like a big fail because he was up late because we were trying to figure out like how to get the pee pee smell out when like
Oh my
it
God.
it was bad. It was bad. Like that was my fail.
Okay.
I should have checked it earlier. My my gut told me like it's not sweat. He didn't sweat, and like then I did nothing about it. Yeah, and then I did
You
nothing
have a
about
lot
it.
going
So that was my
on.
fail.
Yeah. You Yeah, you've got a lot
Yeah,
going
I know.
on. Give yourself grace,
No,
But no,
today
I
it's
can
like baking
understand how
soda on the
that's
bed. Like all the sheets are getting washed
but
again. Like everything's the stuffed animals have to get
Oh, wow.
washed. Like yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I
gotta love the pee pee.
gotta love the PP.
Mhm.
Well, Amelia, thank you so much for sharing all of your experience and being so vulnerable with us. And yeah,
Thank you.
you're one
Thanks.
badass
Did I
woman,
cover
and don't
everything?
forget it.
Like
Yeah,
I hope I didn't
seriously.
miss anything.
I mean, we're an
Okay,
hour 20
good.
in, so we have nothing else to cover this episode. It's gonna be a long one,
Yeah,
guys. If
thanks.
you've made it this far, thank you. Yes, and we love Emilia. We'll
sure.
probably have you on the pod again sometime, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, yes. So thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Savannah, for showing
Thanks,
up
Savannah, for
as you always
crying
do.
and like
And I want to thank me.
Well,
for
I mean, that's
empathizing.
not a hard ask for me. I'm like,
Yeah. And then I want to thank me for being me.
I want to thank me.
Anyway, all right. Love you guys. If you don't already, oh yeah, so I guess TikTok is back.
We don't know.
Yeah,
but it's
for
like
now. I don't know. It's
temporary.
it's a weird. So I'm still gonna mention TikTok. So if you don't
Still
already follow,
post, yeah.
if you don't already follow us, please follow us at on Instagram, on TikTok at Scrunchy Moms Club Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Scrunchy Moms Club Podcast. Give us a review. Show us love. Spread the good Lord's word. And thank you so much for listening. Bye.